In this video, I'm going to talk about the mirror modifier. For the mirror modifier, you need to have some kind of object that you want symmetrical in some way. In our case, we're looking at a bunny head. We made half of the head with the eye and the mouth and the nose and the ear, and the other half of the head doesn't have all of those features, and we want to reflect half of the head over to the other half. So one thing that we need is an exact center line. So in the case of your bunny head, if I go into object mode, you should be able to see right down the center an exact center line all the way down your head. In my case, I'm just starting with a cube, so I'm going to go ahead and make a center line, which you can do in some other cases if you weren't dealing with something that already had a center line. So I'm going to Control R. I'm going to left click to say I want one cut, and then right click to set it right in the middle. And then I am going to delete the half of the object that I don't want. I'm going to turn on this, I call it select through. Apparently it's called limit selection to visible. And then when I do that, I can now see through and also select all the way through this. In my case, I have a very simple object, but in the case of the bunny head, there are a lot of faces going on. And so you'll want to make sure that you get into a good straight view, like a front or right ortho. Yeah, there we go. And then you can A to unselect everything, and then use a B box select to delete the vertices on the whichever side you don't want, which in the case of the bunny head is probably the right hand side. So you want to delete all those vertices right up to the center, but not including the center. If you delete the vertices on the center line, you will be missing basically like a stripe down the center of your bunny head. So go just to the right of the line as close as you can, and that will select all the vertices over here. And then I can say X or delete, and I'm going to choose vertices because I've selected the vertices that I want. I could also have been in face select while I was doing my selecting, and select all the faces on the right hand side, or whichever side you need. And in that case, when I do my X or delete, I would want to select faces. But since I'm in vertex select, I'm going to go ahead and select vertices. Then if I look at my model, I have basically half of a cube, no internal geometry. So that just means there's no faces or edges or anything left along the inside of the model. And then I'm going to go into the modifiers pane, which is the little wrench icon. I'm going to add a modifier, and it is called mirror. So we're going to look at a few different modifiers in this second column here. First is mirror. In the next video, I'll talk about subdivision surface. And then when we talk about 3D printing, we'll look at the Boolean modifier. So I'm going to go ahead and mirror. And it looks like nothing happened for me. And that may happen to you also, like the mirror modifier doesn't look like it's working. And that has to do with the direction that you cut, basically. So if it looks like nothing happened, just uncheck the X and check the Y instead, and probably that will fix it. It's just where you started building your face, basically, is going to determine which direction you need to reflect. Now, if I select a vertex on one side, you can see that the other side also gets affected, and that's the point because we want to have both sides be the same. Now, it's possible that when you added your modifier, your mirror modifier, you might have noticed that you have some gaping spots or some holes or whatever. And as you work on your bunny, you may realize that you're adding holes as you go. You can avoid that or fix that by turning on clipping over here in the modifier. And now if I bring these back together, they basically kind of get glued onto that center line so that I can move that vertex or face or whatever you're dealing with in two directions, but I can't move it away from the center line. So that'll keep you having a nice solid object there. Now there is an apply button, but we don't normally apply it. If you want the two sides to stay symmetrical, there's really no reason to apply it right now. If you, for example, wanted the two sides to start out really, exactly the same, but then modify one side or the other for some reason, then you could go ahead and apply it. And, oh, I always forget, you have to do it in object mode. So I'll tab into object mode, I will apply it, I'll tab back into edit mode. Now that it's been applied, I can do things to one side and they will not affect the other side. So, but normally we do not apply the modifier. We leave it so that the two sides stay symmetrical. It makes our life easier because we only have to modify one side and it applies to the other side. Okay, well that's it for mirror modifier. You'll probably want to turn off the select through button as you're working, just because it's easy to accidentally select something on the back when you meant to select something on the front. Next up, I will talk about the subdivision surface modifier.